Why did Air India flight AI-171 crash in Ahmedabad? Nobody knows yet. 13 months since one of India's worst aviation tragedies, there's no clarity on what caused the crash. Remember, AI-171, which was on its way from Ahmedabad to London Gatwick, crashed seconds after takeoff. 260 people were killed. This included 241 people on board and 19 on ground at the BJ Medical College. Only one passenger survived. The government now says it will take a few more months at least to get to the root of this. They say the probe is on and it is in its final stages. Technical aspects are being examined, some investigation activities remain incomplete, and authorities say the final report will only be published after all boxes in line with global investigation norms are ticked. So basically, until then, speculation, conspiracy, and mystery galore. This matter even reached the Supreme Court earlier this year, where the authorities have now opened up to give an update on where things stand and when can one expect the completion of this investigation. Hello and welcome, I'm Shubham Chauhan. Let's get started. So 6 more weeks is what it will take for authorities to complete their investigation into the Air India crash of flight AI-171. This is what India's Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau has said in its affidavit to the Supreme Court. Now, the AAIB is a government body attached to the Ministry of Civil Aviation. Now, the AAIB's response comes after 3 petitions were filed in the Supreme Court seeking an independent investigation into the Air India crash. Among the petitioners is 91-year-old Pushkar Raj Sabharwal, the father of late Captain Sumit Sabharwal, who was one of the pilots of AI-171. A section of aviation experts, based on their interpretation of the information available, have come to the conclusion that the crash was due to a pilot error. Again, no official word, but this is what a lot of aviation experts are saying. Following this, Captain Sabharwal's father approached the Supreme Court seeking a fair investigation into the crash. In 2025, while issuing notice on this petition, the Supreme Court had orally observed that no blame could be attributed to Captain Sumit Sabharwal. The court also criticized the media for attributing the crash to the pilot. On the 11th of July, as last week, the AAIB filed its response in the Supreme Court, where it has made several key points. The AAIB said the investigation is independent and there was no reason or justification for replacing it with any other mechanism. It said that the probe is in line with India's laws and international aviation standards. The Supreme Court has been told that 49 out of 66 mandatory investigative steps prescribed under global standards have been completed. These include examination of the wreckage, scrutiny of maintenance and training records, speaking to witnesses and personnel, stakeholder consultations, collection of air traffic control or ATC recordings and radar data, download and analysis of flight recorder data, preparation of the cockpit voice recorder transcript, a psychological autopsy, among other factors. Now, the affidavit did not say whose psychological autopsy was conducted. Neither the AAIB has disclosed any findings from the report. What the AAIB did say is that these steps are in the analysis phase and the remaining investigation is expected to be concluded within about 6 weeks. So sometime in October, the AAIB says a draft final report is expected to be ready. Note the words, draft final. It's not the final report, but definitely expected to be much more elaborate than what we have at the moment. As per global rules, this draft final report will be shared with other international authorities who are part of this probe, and then their feedback will be sought and only then will it be released for the public. In AI-171's case, the draft final report will be sent to the US's National Transportation Safety Board, NTSB, which is the accredited representative of the state of design and manufacture. The US NTSB will give what the AAIB calls significant and substantiated comments, and then this process will go forward. And this process of seeking feedback from the NTSB could take 30 to 60 days. Only after this, like I said, will this report be made public. The AAIB said it cannot reveal some sensitive findings in the public domain. It cited the Convention on International Civil Aviation 1944, or the Chicago Convention as it's called, and the AAIB rules of 2025 to support its objection. Now, interestingly, on the point of secrecy or the lack of it, the AAIB has told the Supreme Court that the media speculation and narrative attributing blame to the pilots has made some witnesses in this investigation restrictive and non-responsive. The body says that this is precisely the kind of prejudice to the probe that the rules are meant to prevent. Now, regarding the delay in revealing the findings of the crash, according to Annex 13 of the International Civil Aviation Organization, of which India is a part, it is required to make the final report publicly available as soon as possible and if possible within 12 months. Those are the exact words from that clause. The clause adds that if the report cannot be made publicly available within those 12 months, an interim statement shall be made publicly available on each anniversary of the occurrence, detailing the progress of the investigation and any safety issues that have been raised. Now let's look at the first part of this clause. The Indian government has not put out the final report within 12 months, that is clear. The AAIB said that the crash investigation is complex, there are several aspects and technicalities involved, and hence there is a delay. Now to be clear, this is not the only instance of a delay. Investigations into such tragedies sometimes do take more than the stipulated 12 months. In fact, in the 2019 Ethiopian Airlines 737 MAX crash, the final report wasn't put out until 2022. But in AI-171's case, questions have been raised by experts on the independence, the authenticity, and the fairness of this probe that the AAIB is doing.
Unfortunately, we do not have a professional organization for air crash investigation. And each time an air crash investigation happens, firstly, the journalists are stunned when I say we don't have an organization. They say, "Arey, there is AAIB. Who is AAIB run by? Are there any pilots there?" I am telling you that without a pilot and without a 787 pilot rated with experience, you cannot solve this problem. By saying that, so-and-so is a very good Bharatanatyam dancer or so-and-so is a good flute player, we don't dispute that. But if you put him in charge of AAIB, then the results you're going to get is exactly what you saw. And this was our objection, not because it is an erroneous report. The erroneous report insinuated the personal life of those pilots and it went worldwide. That's our...
Now to the other part of the Annex 13 ICAO clause regarding an interim statement until the final report comes out. Now the Indian government did put out a note on the first anniversary of the Air India crash on the 12th of June this year. It reiterated that the purpose of the probe is to not blame anybody. Rather, it is to learn lessons from the accident and enhance aviation safety so that these incidents do not occur in the future. Now, that is a gist of what the AAIB has said in its affidavit to the Supreme Court of India vis-a-vis the Air India 171 crash case. Now, this matter is expected to come up for hearing in the Apex Court tomorrow, that is the 17th of July. Do let us know what you think in the comment section below. Thanks for watching.